And now, Rate That Album, Season 3, with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Two guys who know stuff. Hi, and welcome to Rate That Album, the back and forth podcast album review with myself, Paul Muad'Dib, and my good friend, Joe Fremming. Joe, how you doing today, buddy?
Well, Paul, I was down in Hollywood trying to respect myself, but then what I ate for lunch was coming right up.
Was it in front of the Youngbloods?
Oh, it was more under the boardwalk where I was spotted by a secret agent, man.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
There was no jackpot during that fun time, man. I felt like I was going to lose myself, flirting with disaster, but Bruno returned, Paul.
Bruno returned, yeah, absolutely. Did you get the jackpot then?
Oh, God. Bruno's bop?
Yeah.
Our grand return, Paul. Our grand return after a 3-week hiatus, and your crippling addiction to white people music struck again.
Okay, hey, well, first of all, this was released on Motown Records, sir, so you can't blame me.
Paul, it's like people like conservatives saying, well, the Democrats started the KKK. I mean, it doesn't excuse things change, all right?
God, they didn't really change that much in the 80s. Yes, we are doing Bruce Willis, a.k.a. Bruno. What is his last name he calls himself?
I did not watch. I left the research to you, Paul.
Oh, you didn't watch the one. Okay.
Nope, I was going to, but I had to respect myself, Paul.
Okay.
I had to respect myself.
It was Bruno Randolini. Okay. Yes. Let's dig into just Bruce in general.
Let's start off with Bruce because...
yeah, let's start off with Bruce.
I'd rather get the good stuff out of the way before we start punching down on a guy suffering from a cognitive disease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Bruce Willis, storied, career. Love or hate him, the guy has put out some bangers of a movie.
I would argue he was actually even a good actor.
Yeah.
He did, like, when he was young and hungry, man, his performances on Moonlighting, first Die Hard movie, Pulp Fiction for sure, really
Pulp Fiction
showed
for
up.
sure. Yes.
12 Monkeys.
Oh, he was so good in 12 Monkeys. Even Sixth Sense. Even Sixth Sense. He was great in Sixth Sense.
Yeah, so, like, I think his last half of his career, unfortunately, especially right now, is because that's what most people are more aware of. I think history is going to be a lot more kind than it is right now to Bruce Willis's career, because he was fucking fantastic.
He was. He
even took risks. Hudson Hawk.
Yeah,
wasn't a huge hit, but man, a musical like Bruce Willis, like fucking.
Yes. Hudson Hawk was a great one. He did, what was it? Color of Night, which was another risky choice.
He went into the family fair movie stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He did a voice in Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Him and his then wife too, Demi Moore.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. He was in Armageddon, which that's where I think people start to notice the fall, like The Jackal, Armageddon. Then he did The Fifth Element, which kind of redeemed him, I think, a little bit. Sixth Sense. Yeah. He was at a small reoccurring character in Friends in the 2000s. Unbreakable was a great movie.
I never saw it.
Oh, so good. Heart's War was, I think, then started to go down again, because then you had Charlie's Angels and the whole 10 yards, but then he came back with Sin City, which was a great movie.
Yeah, the first one.
Yep, the first one. And then he was in Lucky Number 11, which was a good movie.
Yeah, but then he kind of started relying on John McClane.
Yes.
The last half of the early 2000s. So it was like the Die Hard sequels was easy bread and butter for him, man.
Yep. Yep,
But the thing with those movies, they lost the magic of what made the first. I would argue the first three, I think, are fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Even Die Hard 2, where he's fat.
Yep.
He obviously didn't want to lose weight. So they put him in a bulky sweater through the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. And then I bumped the mic, so it's probably gonna pop. But I will say he came back again. He was in Moonrise Kingdom, which I loved him in that. And the Expendables movies, those were popcorn, stupid, whatever. I really think it was around, and this is where I think you started to see the decline, was around Death Wish. Like, I think Glass was his last great movie.
But again, that was relying on past movies.
Yes, that was relying on past movies. He did try to do the new Death Wish in 2018. So,
but at that point, but we also he was also doing in 2018, and I think a little bit before, he was doing a lot of straight to Red Box.
Well, that came out. Yes, Brown.
People don't. I think now people realize what he was doing is. I don't know how long he knew he had this disease, but I think once you started seeing his multiple rated Red Box, where he was making $1 million just for showing up for 3 days of shooting or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he started padding his bank account because he knew he wasn't going to be working.
So, yes, as a matter of fact, this was something prior when all these movies came out, and I was like, oh man, Bruce Willis is on this tear. I went to IMDb one day with my buddy, and we were looking at he was supposed to be doing 11 movies this year, and he had movies slated for 2000. He had another 9 slated for 2023. So I actually looked into this. So the director of Out of Death, Mike Burns, wrote in a June 2020 email to the film screenwriter, we need to abbreviate his dialogue a bit so there's no monologues, etc. In 2019, there apparently was an incident on a film where he was supposed to fire a blank gun. He was doing it for Hard Kill. The movie Hard Kill. There was problems with him on firing a gun with blanks on a particular set or scene, and there was some other issues with words and dialogue.
As these movies were going along, his speaking moments were drastically cut shorter and shorter, and there was a lot of red letter media covered this. Yes, I think it was their video that kind of floodgated things for them to his family would be like, okay, this is what's going on, because they did their hour-long video about his movies, and they brought up the speculation that was floating around Hollywood, and and a couple of schmucks from Wisconsin are talking about this. Then the cat's out of the bag.
Well, and it sounds like it's been going on now that they knew for at least 4 years, according to this director. The problem with aphasia is that it is a progressive disease.
Yeah.
So 4 years in that realm, from what I was looking up, and again, I'm obviously armchairing this shit. Yeah. I think if Bruce Willis could have pumped out another couple of movies, he would have.
Yeah, I'm sure it got to a point where it just didn't work, and it's sad. It's sad because he's done some of my favorite movies.
100%. And I think it's also very telling that he has not come out or said anything, and that Rumor, the daughter, has been posting photos with them together a lot. It affects the speaking portion of the brain immensely. I would doubt that he's even having conversations at this point, which is really, really sad.
Yeah. If anything, I don't know how he'd be communicating. Maybe if he is or whatnot, who knows? Kevin Smith buried the hatchet. They had their big falling out, infamous with Cop Out, and he did his little Instagram video.
Yep.
Apparently, rumor showed that to Bruce, and Bruce was like, had her reach out to his people. Like, it's just like, that shit happens, but he had so much respect for Smith.
Yeah, my understanding was that he wasn't upset. Like, he didn't understand what the problem was. Bruce Willis didn't.
Yeah, that was kind of what I got to. Like, it was just, it was almost from Kevin's point of view. Like, Bruce was like, what?
Yeah, Bruce was like, I didn't know what I did to piss this guy off so bad. That's what I got from it too.
Yeah, it's sad, but like, you and I could be celebrating something great Bruce did, but unfortunately the Joe Down has already covered a lot of his great movies. So you're decided to kick the dirt at him with Return of Bruno, Paul.
Yes.
You're a real son of a bitch, Paul.
Well, let's go back. Let's
Bruce
talk about.
Willis should kick your ass for this.
Hang on. No, let's talk about Bruce Willis's career in terms of singing. Let's go back to the year of 1987.
We were about 6 years old.
We were about 6 years old, and that's when this album came out. Well, a year earlier, in 1986, Bruce Willis became the celebrity spokesperson for Seagram's Golden Wine Coolers. And it was a $5 million contract back in 1980. Again, think about this. Bruce Willis, who was only on Moonlighting at the time, really, got a $5 million contract from Seagram's Golden Wine Coolers. You got
to remember, he was so charismatic. His character on Moonlighting was, that caused from what I remember, it was an uproar because Sybil Shepherd was mad because he is kind of upstaging the whole thing. Because
yes, she was supposed to be the star.
Oozed charisma. He was. That's John McClane. Die Hard doesn't work if John McClane isn't Bruce Willis. If you think of another actor in that role, it just really wouldn't work.
No. The reason why John McClane worked was because he was the everyman.
Yeah,
he was just a dude. He wasn't a rip guy. He was just some guy who was like, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
And that was the magic of that movie. Well, in this commercial, he was actually in an ad with Sharon Stone back in 1986. So little connection there. Unfortunately, in 1988, Bruce Willis realized he had a drinking problem, and left that job and decided to take care of his own thing. But a lot of people forget too, and again, Moonlighting, which I don't understand what it is with some of these old shows that have a hard time getting streaming. Like, I can watch all the Murder, She Wrote if I wanted to on streaming. Finally, we got Babylon 5, which I love, but for whatever reason, Moonlighting has not made it to any type of network.
Music rights is usually the number one thing. That was the thing about it finally hit HBO Max not too long ago, and I was finally able to see it. It was Larry Sanders Show.
Oh yes, I love the Larry Sanders
show.
Yeah,
I never was able to see it because it wasn't available for streaming, and they didn't want to use generic music. So yeah, that's usually the number one culprit. It's the same with like MTV's The State.
Yeah,
a lot of MTV shows really suffered from that. Beavis and Butthead.
Yes. Because I remember when they released the Beavis and Butthead ones, they had to leave the music videos out, which they are. They
sometimes put some of them in there. Sometimes they would get the rights.
Yep.
So it'd be like you buy those DVD sets, all of a sudden there would be a video, but like most of the times there wasn't.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and I know now that they actually are re-releasing all the ones with the original music videos, so that's awesome. But getting back to Moonlighting, he was doing a lot of singing on the show. He did a version of Do-Wah Diddy. He did Good Lovin'. So, and like basically in every season, he would do that, and it was actually throughout one of his things in the show where he would break out in the song to annoy Sybil Shepherd's character. So
I really wish I could watch that show.
It was so good, dude.
It just seems like, man, like one of the biggest stars in the world, and we can't get it streaming anywhere.
I know.
It's one of like the most famous actresses of that time too. Like Sybil Shepherd was pretty big, man.
She was really big. She was very big back
driver.
then. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she went from movie, and then that was part of the appeal. She went from movies to TV, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is a big deal show. So now we enter the in between of 1987. Bruce is just doing moonlighting. He's doing the singing on the Seagrams commercial. He's just getting started in Hollywood, and he decides he's gonna go and make a blues album. So he reaches out to Motown Records. They're like, sure. And Bruno Randolini is born. And it's a New Jersey rocker persona. Accompanying this was a HBO special that aired in 1987. And it's a mockumentary. And it has like Elton John, Ringo, Brian Wilson, all these people, and they're all like, oh, Bon Jovi. We're like, oh man, if it had been for Bruno, coming to me and helping me write this song, I never would have made this album. Like super, really funny. For example, one of them is Kiss. They're interviewing Paul Stanley, and they're like, we weren't sure what to do with our get-ups. And then Bruno came around and was like, hey, why don't you guys wear makeup?
And it was like the Forrest Gump of rock.
Exactly. And apparently it was Bruno's idea to make Woodstock free. Like Woodstock wouldn't have been free if it wasn't for Bruno. So sorry, in the background. So yeah, that's what was going on there. So it was very lighthearted, but I really think this was something that Bruce Willis was really looking for, and he did have some success. It reached number 14 in the U.S. billboards. In the UK, it was in the top 10 for 8 weeks, and in the top 40 for 21 weeks. The song Respect Yourself rose to number 5 in the US, number 7 in the UK. And it was a lot of people don't realize that that's June Pointer of the Pointer Sisters singing with them on that. Because again, it was a Motown effort. So they were, that's why he also was able to do things like Under the Boardwalk and that type of thing. So that's kind of the story of where that happened. So let's dig into it. Joe, let's just go track by track. It's not a very long album.
It felt like it was 6 hours.
It did. I'm not going to lie. It
felt a lot longer than it was because, so Paul, this album sounds like it's straight out of Legends Bar on Blues Night.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who are listening, there's a bar in St. Cloud that's built into a Holiday Inn. God, we sound like podunks.
I know we do.
And every, what was it, Wednesday night?
Wednesday night was Blues Night.
Wednesday night, they'd have Blues Night.
Yep.
And it'd be the whitest, Germanist, Catholicist-y people playing what sounds exactly like the return of Bruno. And it was just the worst blues music you would ever hear. And people who would be really into blues music in St. Cloud would come to the store. I worked at CD Warehouse, and they loved blues music. And one guy told me he loves the blues, but with one caveat, he only likes white people blues.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so Like, I'm listening to this, I'm like, this is St. Cloud blues.
Yeah.
This is Plastic Soul. Plastic Soul is what black R&B artists described the Rolling Stones in the 60s.
Oh, hilarious.
That's where McCartney got the idea for Rubber Soul.
Genius.
Yeah, so this is Plastic Soul, I would say.
Yes. There is something
perfectly fine if this is Bruce Willis at like some dive bar with his buddies. It's not like my thing, and now I had to listen to it for this fucking review, and I'm just like, I was having flashbacks of Legends, just being like gobsmacked by how awful those blues bands were.
So, well, let's okay. To me, there is something a little disingenuous, very much so, of a guy who has a $5 million contract for a fucking wine cooler commercial and is making millions of dollars on a TV show and then coming out and singing the blues. Now, that bothered me, but then I started.
These are really blues songs, though.
Some are, some aren't. You know what I mean? Like, so what's interesting is that really none of these are truly original songs.
These are all R&B. A lot of them are covers.
Yep, a lot of them are covers. And it's interesting to me in terms of kind of how it was, because like Coming Right Up, that one is Brock Walsh, which was written for basically this album. And that's about a guy that's, you know, but I mean, this one I actually was somewhat believable in terms of what Bruce was singing in it, if you call it that.
Okay, Bruce Willis for me is not the major problem of this album. Like, his voice is perfectly adequate for what he's trying to do. It's the production and the instrumentation, because it's so fucking 80s.
Yes.
It's like, this is like borderline a Phil Collins album with Bruce Willis singing over it, you know?
The production of it is a big problem. It's doesn't have that. You know, one of the things with the blues, it should be kind of gritty, it should be kind of dirty. The whole idea is that, you know, it should never be clean. Blues should never, ever, 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 ever be clean.
Don't ever say that in Legends Bar in St. Cloud.
I know, dude. I don't even think that bar exists anymore. Thank God. But no, you're right. I mean, but that's what people, you know. But blues should never, ever, 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 ever be clean. Lyrically, in terms of it, I think you have, any one of us that kind of are into movies or things like this. We've all heard kind of the stories of the guys that are bussing tables, trying to get that break, you know, trying to do whatever they can to get attention of the Hollywood producer or whatever. So this one to me, like, it wasn't disingenuous in terms of what was the lyrical content of it. I was like, you know what, I could totally see this is maybe something that Bruce actually dealt with when he first got into Hollywood, when he was being an unaccredited background actor in 1980 and 1981. Like, totally.
Well, ironically, Bruce Willis isn't the problem with this album. For Vanity Project, it's all on his shoulders. He is not the major issue I have with this album.
No, it's the backing band. It's really the backing band.
It's the production.
It's the choice of things that they used. You know, like, again, it was getting to that point even in 1987 where people were getting burned out of the saxophone. Like, stop. And then we move into the cover Respect Yourself, originally done by the Staple Singers. It's fine. I mean,
I'd rather be listening to the Staple Singers, man. Like, again, it's like, it's not. Here's the thing: you can tell Bruce Willis really likes this music.
Yes, you can.
So his enthusiasm carries it, in a sense. It's the backup music. It's the production. It's just so white bread for a Motown album, which is shocking. It
very much, I feel like they overcorrected, maybe in a way, like, okay, we got to give this white boy some white background music.
That's what I think it was.
Yeah, I know. That's, I really think it was the same thing.
I think it would have been a lot better if they just did traditional R&B background. I think it would have sit better with me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, sir. 1,000,000%. Down in Hollywood, this is one of the few songs that I did like. It didn't bother me that much, and I like the original more, obviously, but I felt Bruce did a decent job with it. Again, the production is the problem.
Yeah, again, Bruce is not the problem.
No. Young Blood is just a problematic song in general.
How so, Paul?
Yeah, like this song is just, and honestly, I hate this one so much that I just skipped it. Like after listening to it the first time, I was like, I know Young Blood, I don't need to hear it again. Yeah, not a song. I mean, and again, even in 1980s, I mean, the song is an old song by the Coasters, and even 30 years later, it wasn't problematic yet, which is a problem. Under the Boardwalk,
which is a classic song.
This sounds like a bad stripped down karaoke version of it.
I thought you were going to say a bad strip club version of it, and that's right too.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it just, it sounded like it sounded like a prom version. Like, remember, was it Sherry O'Terry and Will Ferrell that would sit there?
The singers.
Yes. It was like that version of it with the keyboard. But here's the thing: of all the songs, Bruce sounds really good on this song.
Yeah, he's like. That's what I like. Like at least his vocals, like as much as they can be somewhat generic, but that's kind of like he's not a singer by trade.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's all right at it, but like, he's hitting like some of those falsetto notes. Like you can tell he really likes this music. And again, it's that enthusiasm that makes me not hate this album 100%. Like it knocks it down to 80%. The 20% of his enthusiasm carrying it like gives me a little respect for it.
100%. And again, his singing on this song
is good.
He was really good. Like Under the Boardwalk, he should have gotten more attention for this because it's really good.
But again, like every time I hear Under the Boardwalk, I think of that scene. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie's wondering about the magic of Under the Boardwalk, and they go in there and he sees two homeless guys fucking each other.
Yep.
There's nothing magical about this.
Then we get Secret Agent. I hate the second song. I hated the original. I hated everything about it. You just can't make this song any good. And it's so Secret Agent Man. It's just, it's such a really bad version of it.
There's no version of Secret Agent Man.
What's that?
I don't like Secret Agent Man. I don't think there's a good version of it. It's just one of those songs, no matter what.
Yeah,
it's going to be a bad song.
It's going to be a bad song. It's going to be a bad song. Next we get Bruno's Bop.
Jackpot.
Hello. Hello.
Talk about this in the documentary since it's got his name on it.
This
inspires Sgt. Pepper's, Paul.
This is the only song on the album where Bruce Willis is credited as a writer on it. Not the most meatiest thing, huh? Okay, let's just go through. I mean, Grandpa always gave me good advice. A fine-looking woman is like a pair of dice. When she flashes her snake eyes, you got to pay the price. I'm all grown up. The game is going my way. Grandpa's good advice still holds today. Hey, when I get frisky, I got to play. Why not? I'm hot. Jackpot tonight.
It just sounds like his grandfather's advice is like a good woman is a stripper.
Yeah, kind of. I think Grandpa liked the strip clubs.
I'm not going to kink shame Grandpa, but he gave his grandson some questionable advice.
I think Grandmama might have been a floozy back in the day. So yeah, I mean, there's just nothing to it. It's like combined. It's that, and again, it's like a crooner thing, making casino gambling references out of sex. It's just yeah.
It's kind of it's been done to death.
It's been done to death. Then you got Fun Time. Look, no one. Okay, Joe Cocker is the king of covers. You don't cover Joe Cocker.
Yeah, Joe Cocker made a Ringo song good. All right.
Yeah. We put it this way: Crocker covers you. You don't cover Crocker.
This is a good, solid rule of thumb. You do not cover Joe Cocker. Joe Cocker covers you.
Yes, that's the rules, ladies and gentlemen. Stick by them.
Bruno broke the freaking rules.
Bruno, you son of a bitch. You're as bad as Gilmer.
Goddamn Gilmer.
Goddamn Gilmer and Bruno.
His paws aren't all over this album.
I'm sure he wishes they were. Oh, no, he was too busy getting
follow-up to Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. This is around the time he's working on that one. Then we got Fun Time. Oh, sorry, I skipped that one. Then we got Lose Myself, which is, I think, original written for this album. Yeah. These last two songs, Lose Myself and Flirting with Disasters, you know, okay, we just said you don't cover Joe Cocker. Joe Cocker covers you. Pick a different cover and pick two more covers. Because I just not good. And I think.
Yeah, this is when I'm struggling to get past the finish line with this album.
Yeah, it's hard. Trust me. I mean, we had 3 weeks. I've listened to this album way more than I should have. And in all honesty, I ended up actually liking, you know, it got to the point where I was like, okay, Respect Yourself, Down in Hollywood, and Under the Boardwalk aren't bad in comparison to everything else that's going on this album.
Well, you know what that's called, right? Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome. I Stockholm my syndrome myself on this album. Because again, you know, I drive around for work. So here I am listing this thing. And, you know, there's some places I got 2 hours in between where I'm going to go. So what the fuck? I'm going to listen to the album a couple times. So I got it down. And I was like, oh, man, this is bad. And then, you know, once I got away from it, I started playing other music. I was like, oh, right, comparatively. Wait a minute, there's other music out there, son of a bitch. So, yeah, Lose Myself and Flirting with Disaster are just rough
yeah,
ones.
They're not good. They
No.
I mean, this album was already rough to listen to. Mm-hmm. It's for some reason, these 4-minute songs just felt like took like a decade, man.
Oh, they do. Now, I had kind of teased a little bit that this album was one of the reasons that got me into artists,
vanity projects.
Yeah, you know, actors that do music things, because I remember walking through the Electric Fetus and seeing this there. And I saw Bruce Willis and I was like, what the fuck is this? And like, I'm like, fucking Bruce Willis is putting out music. And I don't remember, it was a long time ago before you and our buddy Dan worked there. I asked the guy and I'm like, what the hell is this? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, I was so naive. And the guy's like, oh yeah, artists, like there's a whole bunch of stuff where actors, you know, and he told me about Shatner and I was like, son of a bitch. Yeah. Like,
boom. When we were growing up, actors acted, singers sang. Like there wasn't really crossover. At least I never thought of it until I was stupidly old enough, but
yeah. So like that blew my brain. So that like became this thing, and because it was bad, and I think this really opened my third eye, as it were, or my mind, to why I enjoy bad movies, why I can enjoy, you know, something that's so bad it's entertaining, and to me it's so bad it's entertaining. With this one, unfortunately, there's this weird juxtaposition that we've talked numerous times about, is Bruce Willis's enthusiasm and voice on it does not match the backing band's enthusiasm. And
yeah.
Well, you
know, there is no enthusiasm from the backing band.
No, there's no soul. There's no soul from the music. It plays soul. It fakes soul, but you hear it and it feels overly produced. And that's the worst thing you could ever do on a blues album. And that's really not Bruce's fault. Bruce was not a musical artist in the, you know, he'd been trying to get into Hollywood. He sang on some commercials, but that's all he knew. He didn't know production. He didn't know whatever. So he's going off what everyone else is telling him to do. So I don't necessarily blame his, because I guarantee he was just excited to be in the studio singing these covers that he probably loved, and kind of going down and being like, oh man, I'm doing this music thing. and he probably didn't understand, what it was missing. And that is where his fault is, because he should have listened and went, this doesn't sound like real blues, guys. Like,
this doesn't sound good.
Yeah, he should have said, give me some real blues.
Or get some real R&B in here, like.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, respect yourself, or, like this is, these need like that classic sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they're making it all modern, making it sound like Chuckletown now.
So let's talk about reviews. The album review mixed. People Magazine gave it a B+ because it's People Magazine.
Yeah, they would give Mein Kampf a B+, Paul.
Sure they would. Calling Willis's covers of Under the Boardwalk surprisingly okay. That is the quote for a B+
album. Surprisingly okay.
Surprisingly okay. Noting that the album, quote, shows us that he, Willis, can't sing songs quite as well as Don Johnson. So Springsteen he ain't, funny he is, end quote.
Now for let's talk about Don Johnson's solo album, which featured Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray. Oh, we're gonna get to Don Johnson's solo album at one point, sir. Yeah. Heartbeat. I'm looking for a fucking heartbeat, buddy. All music observes that, quote, Willis doesn't have the conviction or skill of the Blues Brothers. No shit. Thanks.
Yeah, it's not his wheelhouse. It's also like Belushi had a natural talent to sing blues.
Mm-hmm.
That was all instinct, because he was, as a genre of music, John Belushi didn't even like.
Yep.
He was a punk rocker. He was
a punk rocker.
He got Fear on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he got Fear on Saturday Night Live, which almost cost him his job, by the way. That almost got him shit canned. Funny story. So I worked at a company
Under the Boardwalk?
Very, very recently, where the owner worked for Saturday Night Live back during the first couple of seasons as a cameraman. And I asked him when I met him, I was very intimidated, but I'd asked him, I said, look, I got to ask you, because he was talking about one of his favorite bands was Elvis Costello. So I said, how is it that a guy that worked at Saturday Night Live has a favorite band from a guy that's not allowed to be back on the show? And that opened up this whole door. He was like, oh my God, okay, you're someone that gets it. And he told me the story about how it was crazy that John and Dan Aykroyd were living characters at that, like they were the Blues Brothers at that time, and that they would have an after party, and then if you were cool, you'd go to the after party, and then if you were really cool, you went to the after party, which was this bar that John and Dan owned, that you would go to, and they'd lock everyone in for the night. And they wouldn't open it again until 10 in the morning. And he's like, and you would sit there and they would sing and they would play music and they were fucking, do all this shit. And
out of their minds on coke.
Out of their minds on coke. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this was something that they did every Saturday night. Was after the show, they do this after party, and it'd be them fucking just, bringing down the house, and it wouldn't just be blues music. It would be all sorts of music, as you brought up. And he said the same thing to me. He said, hey, John didn't even like the blues. He was just really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's everything I read. Like, he didn't like it, but like he was such a natural vocalist for it. Yeah. I would be interested to hear him do punk music too.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
That'd have been amazing.
That would have been absolutely amazing. So there we go. It really was like one of the, it was a gold record album. It sold enough to do that. It did peak. It was a big hit, the biggest hit for a white artist with Motown, and at least at that time, up to that time. And it did have a follow-up album, which I think was, in my opinion, I did listen to it. I think it's actually a little better. Unfortunately, I think the damage was done, and he was done. It came out 2 years later in 1989, and by that time, it didn't do very well, and he had already done Die Hard by this point, and he was ready to go. And that album is called "If It Don't Kill You, It Just Makes You Stronger," and had a lot of Nietzsche quotes. So,
oh,
so there you go. So, Joe, would you recommend the album?
No. Just no. He's a great actor. He's a pretty decent singer, but this album is not good. No, it's not a good album.
I have to agree. No. I mean, if you're curious of it out there, it's a curio, for sure. And here's the thing. I'm not even going to harp on the guy because, we sometimes talk about vanity projects, things like that are just here's the thing. This is a guy who went out, was in the 80s, he was doing literally unaccredited background actor work. Maybe getting $100, $50. I mean, back in that time, probably getting $25 to $50 a day.
Made his money as a bartender.
Yep. Made his money as a bartender. This is really Bruce Willis is like a story of what you can do in America if you really push it. Like this, like when people talk about like being able to achieve your dreams and do these things, it really should be using Bruce Willis as the example.
Yeah.
This is
he's more a realistic Horatio Alger story than actual Horatio Alger story.
100%. This is a guy who went out. He went to Hollywood. He, bussed tables and bartended. He broke into the thing. He decided he was going to make an album. He decided he was going to go from comedy and try drama and action, and really just through sheer will did these things.
And a little bit of talent.
And I mean, he had the talent. I mean, that's the difference, right? That's the thing. He had the
natural talent, the natural charisma. He had things working in his favor too.
I do think in another life, if he hadn't had gotten Die Hard and whatnot, I do think in another life or an alternate timeline, he could have been an accomplished musician. I think if he had found himself the right producer, the right backing group, and an actual working with a team of musicians writing music, I think he could have been very successful with it. I do think he had the talent for it.
Yeah, he has.
But that said, I can't recommend the album.
Yeah, no, this album's horseshit.
Yeah,
first time.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, for everything that's been done, I have to just say, Bruce was a guy that we grew up with. He's one of for me, he was one of my people I looked up to in terms of movies and that type of thing. Not that I thought he was oh my gosh, he was an idol or anything like that, but he was just one of those people that he was in movies I liked.
Yep.
A lot of movies I liked. And he seemed like a guy who had a good sense of humor about things. And, it's always hard, I think, for our generation or any generation, really, when you start to see the people that just came before us and now they're starting to go and we're going, shit, our turn's next. The mortality is there in our faces.
Yeah. Especially when we discussed Lanigan, now, Gen X, we're right around the corner.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit,
millennials are hitting that.
Fuck, man, we're hitting that. So, that all being said, Joe, what do you got going on with the Joe Down?
We're finally getting our shit together. We're going to do MASH at some point next week. Then we're jumping into Sports Month. Let me see what we got up.
Oh shit! I love Sports Month.
I love Sports Month too. We discussed it the other night after work. So let me see here because we have some solid ones here. Brown is picking for Love of the Game.
Oh boy!
And Sudden Death. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep. Oh, I know Sudden Death. I love Sudden Death.
My picks are Air Bud and Invincible.
Oh, very nice.
Mark movie.
Yep. Oh, yes. Very interesting. You guys
I'm excited for Air Bud myself.
Oh, God, Air Bud. And they made like 5 of those movies too.
Dude. Oh yeah,
so you got a well to dip into, buddy.
Oh, the Invincible, that's gonna be great. Just because there's a whole episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This is because of Invincible came out, so like the Philadelphia Eagles holding tryouts for amateurs because they got bullied into it by Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
And at one point, they bring in here's Donovan McNabb, and it's the actor who played Alvin on the Cosby Show, and they point it out. And the coach is like, "That's not Alvin from the Cosby Show." It is literally the actor who played Alvin on the Cosby Show.
That's fantastic.
Pulls up in a Honda Civic.
All right. Well, real quick, I'm just gonna dip into the well that is Air Bud for you. You got Air Bud Golden Retriever, Air Bud World Pup, Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch, and Air Bud Spikes Back. You can probably tell which each sports one that is with. And then you have the Air Buddies series, focusing on the puppies. Air Buddies, Snow Buddies, Space Buddies, because they go to space. Because somehow they go to a space museum and accidentally rock on the board of a rocket ship, because that's a thing that happens at space museums that you go to. Santa Buddies, Spooky Buddies, Treasure Buddies, Super Buddies, The Search for Santa Paws, and Santa Paws 2, which are considered prequels to Santa Buddies. So there you go. You guys got a well, sir. You picked something great.
We're going with the original. Yeah. Air Bud. Well, you're a parent. You've probably seen these. I've never had any reason to see
No, fuck you. No, I have not, sir.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, Paul watches all these bad kids movies.
I have not. Actually, I have not. I have never seen.
Yeah.
I've never seen.
Paul's hiding his Air Bud shame right now.
No, I would tell you if I did. I have not. It's just it's
a dog, and he plays basketball. Paul, what are you missing?
Even my kids, like I honestly, I have offered it to them, like, hey, you guys, because I thought, okay, they'll enjoy seeing a dog run around do stupid. Even they're like, no, Dad.
Even your kids have their limits.
Even my kids have their limits, and apparently, dogs playing sports is one of those limits. So. That's just good parenting in my book. All right, Joe. All right, Joe. What are we doing next week, sir?
Oh, Paul.
I know.
We're going back into the muck. Back in the muck.
Oh God.
It's not the wheel of shit. You're gonna wish it was, though. I'm gonna give you a choice between A and B.
I think I chose B side last time, so give me the asshole.
Oh, Paul. I was hoping you would pick this one. Both of these albums are by artists, and both are huge misdirects, bad choices. And you picked one that had some of the worst bad choices on it. We're going with Sometime in New York by John Lennon.
Oh, no!
Where he drops the N-word a lot.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I've heard of this. I've avoided it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, John and Yoko, Paul.
Oh, God.
Beatles territory again, but we'll never pick a Beatles album.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Look at that track list, Paul. Look it up real quick.
I'm looking at it. Oh, God.
Track number 1, Paul.
Hang on. What's the okay? Hang on. It's not pulling up. Hang on. Let me go to my YouTube music. All right. What is the actual title called?
Sometime in New York.
Okay. Hang on. Hang on. Okay. Hang on.
Sometime in New York City, Paul.
Okay, I'm looking here. Let's see if it's there. If anything, I can YouTube it, but. Okay, it's there. Let's look at this track listing, huh? Oh God! This is
Oh yeah.
Oh, we're so canceled.
Don't worry, the live part is with Frank Zappa, so we'll get something out of it, Paul.
Oh,
John and Yoko and Frank Zappa. It's going to be amazing.
oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, these were. Oh God. How do you do cold turkey live? Like you need to be going through withdrawals. Oh God damn it.
Yeah, you want to know what the other pick was going to be? You want to know what side B was, Paul?
What's side B?
Side B was, if you would have picked B, we would have been doing Kilroy Was Here by Styx.
Oh, damn it. I would have loved that. I've actually listened to that album.
Yeah. You picked Asshole, Paul.
I picked
That's
Asshole.
what happens when you pick Asshole.
That's what happens when I picked Asshole. Yeah, Kilroy Was Here. That's such a great album.
Considered a misdirect originally when it came out, though, Paul. Broke up the band.
Yeah, which was crazy. It's yeah, we're gonna have to do that one at some point because
Brown has asked me to do it, and I just keep telling him no.
Oh, dude, yeah,
So we'll get him on there if we do Kilroy Was Here.
Yeah, 100%. Because I actually enjoy it.
But no, we're getting Lennon dropping N-bombs and Yoko screaming. I don't know if you've seen the Get Back documentary, but it always takes a nosedive when she starts her howling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in for the
So we got
shit.
questionable lyrics, Yoko screaming, John Lennon's confused politics.
God damn it. And it's an hour and a half long. Oh, what did I do to us?
Don't worry, it's a
quick hour and a half.
Don't worry, Kyoko.
What's that?
16-minute long song, Don't Worry, Kyoko. I imagine it's going to have a lot of Yoko screeching on it. Oh, God. This might be our most challenging yet.
Oh, I don't know. Dude, so I worked with a guy that we hated this job. We all fucking hated this job that we had. And this one guy, he was like just the happiest fucking dude. And I asked him, I said, he was just really nice old black guy. And I was like, how the fuck do you stay so positive? This job fucking sucks. He goes, I used to work at a fucking junkyard. And he's like, we all had to take turn with the stick. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Take turn with the stick. He goes, everyone at one point we had to burn some of the trash. So you have this molten pit and you throw all this trash in there. And he goes, the smell was unbelievable. He said, so anytime I think things are, I think things are going really bad, he goes, I just go back to thinking about the stick. So I'm going to use this as my wisdom. And when I'm having a problem with this album, I'm just going to think of Pat Boone.
I don't know. This might become your stick too, Paul.
It'd become my stick. Yeesh. All right. Fuck my life.
You picked Asshole, Paul. Never pick Asshole.
Never pick Asshole with Joe. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, Joe, do you want to take us out?
No.
This has been Rate That Album with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Thank you for listening.